A very good morning to all of you guys. Welcome to a temporary physical substitute virtual class that we are doing for our otherwise usual physical or in-person class that we conduct at Sigma Institute. So over the last couple of weeks, I've been telling you guys, even though today is the 4th of February, which is a significant or important day in our country, which is for obvious reasons, where we celebrate our independence. And this time it's a bit of a momentous Independence Day celebration, 75 years of independence. But I have been over the last few weeks telling you guys that even though it's 4th of February, because we are starting a new unit, that we need to make sure that we have the class. But unfortunately, Putta, yesterday, even yesterday towards the second half of the day, in the evening, we got to learn that many teachers who do the parallel subjects, the other subjects that you guys do at Sigma Institute, have decided to basically cancel their classes or do their classes on an online basis. Now, when that decision has been made by those teachers, which is fully within their right to make that decision, and then when the institute keeps telling us that most probably for English medium or for A-levels or in generally at Sigma, I would be one of the very few or the only teacher who would be doing a physical class. That puts me in a bit of a difficult position. So since I can't control how other teachers make their decisions and things like that, I can only make a decision based on my, situation and in our classes, Putta, what we are trying to do. So since we were starting a new unit, and I'll talk about the unit in a bit, it was something very important for me to try and ensure that I do my class somehow physically. But unfortunately, the situation that developed was it would be a bit of a difficult thing for me to do the class physically. And if I had done the class physically, some of you guys might need to come all the way to Sigma Institute only for the economics class. I know you would do that because you guys have that level of commitment for this subject, and especially the Econ-Hub classes. But even so, I felt there would have been a bit of a inefficiency there. So I decided to do the class online. So that's why earlier I called this a temporary physical substitute virtual class. So only for today, because we have been put into this situation, we are doing our class virtually, and we are starting the second unit of the syllabus. You guys do not have a material with you. If we had the physical class, this was the material that we would give you, which is the first book for unit 2. So since we are not having the classes physically, until you guys collect the material next week, let's make sure that we start the unit, and whatever the few notes that you guys have to write, please make sure when I share the soft copy of the material on the screen with you guys, that you write it down. There are a few things to write down, so we'll do that, and we'll get the introductory part or the introduction part for unit 2 done today in this session. Okay, right. Any of your friends or any of you guys who are in the live session now is basically joining our classes for the very first time, Saturday, Sigma Institute, 10:45 to 1 o'clock is a physical or in-person class. Only for today, for unavoidable reasons, I'm doing this virtual class as a substitute, as a temporary substitute for the physical classes. From next week onwards, we will be back in our usual environment, usual classroom, and we will continue what we start today in terms of Unit 2. I hope all of you guys are very clear on what I just said. At the end of the day today, if there isn't any real problem that arises, I'm sure collectively, me and all the teachers should feel a bit of a disappointment that we simply missed a day in the shortest month of the year to actually do a class and do our job. So that is something all of us have to live with, right? So let me stop there in terms of why I'm meeting you guys, or why you guys are seeing me. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing you, but why you guys are seeing me on a virtual platform. Okay, right. So before I start off, again, let me very quickly check with all of you guys, right? Much as possible, respond when I ask questions, because if this was a physical class, I could look at your faces, or I could get you all to speak out and get your response. Okay. Unfortunately, in this setup, I can't do that. So it's very important that you help me by responding. Okay. Right. So one more time, you guys can hear me clearly without any interruption to the audio, and you guys can see the video stream without any problem. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Okay, so no issue at all. Let's get going. Ladies and gentlemen, as you guys saw with the opening slide, we are starting Unit 2 of the syllabus. There are few things that I need to share with you, which I have shared in the different classes leading up to this session. But today, since we are starting Unit 2, let me very quickly do this. What I'm about to do is, give you some food for thought, give you some things to think about, and come up with a proper mindset. Okay, come up with a proper mindset. Okay, when we start Unit 2. Okay, I think this information that I am about to share with you guys will be important for you to have the right attitude, the right mindset when we start this unit. First and the most critical thing, key thing I should tell you guys is, hands down, without any doubt, Unit 2, which is called Market Economics. Sometimes we refer to this unit as price theory. Okay, right. So Unit 2 or competency level 2 is the most important unit in your entire 12-unit advanced level economic syllabus. Okay. Unit 2 is the most important unit in your syllabus. Why is that? Few reasons. Number one, in terms of the 600 study periods that has been allocated for the entire subject of economics for 2 years of learning, we are given in school. You guys know what that means, right? Normally in advanced levels, for each of the main subjects, you get 2 periods, correct? Double periods are given. So the time frame you are given to learn, right? That 40-45 minute time frame, that out of those, there are 600 allocated for economics as a subject to cover the 12 units over a period of 2 years. Out of that, the unit we completed, I would have to say comprehensively, very completely, that is unit 1 was allocated with about 70 study periods. Okay. Unit 2 is allocated with a minimum of 100 study periods. 100 study periods, 100. Which is the largest allocation of periods for a particular unit in the syllabus. So first reason why this is the most important unit, it is the biggest unit of the syllabus. Okay, number 1. Number 2, second reason, if you look at the economics paper or the exam, there are 2 papers, as all of you guys know by now. We have Econ 1, the MCQ paper. There are 50 MCQs. Out of these 50 MCQs, okay, 7 of them will be from Unit 2. 7 MCQs. 7 MCQs from Unit 2. Each MCQ is given about 2 marks, right? Because your marks are given out of 200. So 14 marks minimum you will get from Unit 2 in terms of the Econ 2 paper. Okay. The only other unit in the syllabus where there are 7 MCQs allocated out of the 50 would be Unit 11. So next to Unit 11, or with the exception of Unit 11, Unit 2 has the largest number of MCQ questions. Second paper, Econ 2 paper, the structured paper, the written paper, in that in subsection A, there are 2 parts to the second paper, part A and part B. In subsection A, question number 2, a full 20-mark question is from Unit 2. So minimum there is 20 marks there. Then we have a question, a full 20-mark question, and some MCQ questions from, now this is the third reason actually, from Unit 3. Then we have another full question, 20-mark question from Unit 4 and MCQ questions also. These 2 units, especially Unit 3 and 4, okay, how well you can answer the question from Unit 3 and 4 fully depends on how well you learn Unit 2, market economics. So the effort, the focus, the real determination with which you learn and master Unit 2 will not only help you score the marks from the question connected to Unit 2, also 2 more questions in the second paper and about another 6 or 7 MCQs in addition to the 7 MCQs you get from Unit 2 itself. I hope I'm being very clear. Not only that, the knowledge you get in Unit 2 about demand supply equilibrium and how price is determined and how prices change and all of these things, elasticity, everything, the entire thing, the knowledge you get from Unit 2 will be extremely useful for you guys to understand a part in Unit 7, which is inflation, and a part in Unit 8. Unit 8 is government economics. There we have an area called externalities. If you want to really understand externalities, your knowledge about demand supply equilibrium diagrams is extremely important. And then in Unit 10, there's an area for foreign exchange rates. If you really want to learn how foreign exchange rates are decided in a country, especially in a country like Sri Lanka, where we follow the certain exchange rate system, you need the equilibrium diagram. You need to have an understanding about how demand and supply works. So overall, my intelligence students, I don't think I need to explain any further why I said earlier that Unit 2, hands down, undoubtedly the single most important unit in your syllabus. And finally, I'll say this and let's move on. Okay. Since it's a given, since all of you guys have the potential, have the need, and have the hunger for an A grade pass for this subject, high order, good A grade pass for this subject, you can't get there. You cannot do it unless you do really well and learn everything in Unit 2. So I think I've given you guys a solid set of reasons why starting today, only for today virtually, but in the future physically, why you would want to attend every single class on Saturdays at Sigma, right? And really commit to your learning. Be very focused when you're in the class. Get rid of all distractions. And from the time we start learning Unit 2 and economics until the class ends, and then at home, the work you have to do with that full concentration, full focus, and that grit or determination, you will do it. Because now we know the smartest thing we can do in our economics journey towards ultimate success is master this unit. Okay. Whatever you have done up to now with Unit 1, however much or to what level you have covered Unit 1, okay, some of you guys are coming for the seminar series, fast track seminar series we are doing for Unit 1. By the way, tomorrow we are not having a seminar session. We are taking a small break, and then we will start the week after and have a few more sessions, and we will complete our fast track seminars on Unit 1. Okay. So whatever you have done in Unit 1, okay, get Unit 1 done. Okay, it's important. Introduction to economics, end of the day. Unit 1. But whatever you have done in Unit 1, Unit 2 can be your real chance and opportunity for you to be a part of this, for you to make this subject one of the best subjects for you, and ensure that you get this grade that you want to get, a high order A grade pass. Are we clear? Right. I think all of you are now in the right mindset with that right importance. Let's learn Unit 2. Okay. Right. I'm not trying to sort of make this a big thing and, put a lot of pressure on your head and stress you guys out and all that. No, but you need to know, right? Only if you know the animal, you can tame the animal. Only if you know the game, you can play it properly. So you need to know what this is. Okay. I'm being very honest with you and sharing this information with you guys. Okay. Right. Then, my intelligent students, let's start by identifying what this unit is all about. So in your study material, which you guys will see on the screen by now, okay, which you will get the hard copy next week when you come for the physical classes. Okay. So let's start here. So I've given the learning outcomes, right? And so I'm starting with what I like to call a dashboard for the unit. Because it's a very big unit, I think it's important to have just one page, one small table or a diagram that you look at to very quickly know everything you need to know, the main points about the unit. And also this dashboard will indicate what we have done, what more to be done, and where we are in the unit. So it's almost a map as well. You guys understand the term dashboard? Yes, in a vehicle, you look at the dashboard to make sure that you know the speed at which your vehicle is traveling, right? Or you're driving. What is the RPM? Okay. What is the fuel, level of petrol or diesel that you have? How heated is the engine? Odometer, the mileage, everything, whatever you want to know. Thing about a dashboard is it shouldn't be something where you have to look at it for 5-10 minutes and think about the information. No, it should give you quick information. One glimpse, you should know what is to be known. Okay. So this is your dashboard for unit 2. Okay, that important unit. Right. Now, so I have conceptualized this dashboard, and I think it will be effective for all of you. Right. So there are few things with that when you really want to understand what unit 2 is, when you analyze the unit. Okay, there are few things you need to do. Right. There are few points you need to be very clear on. So we'll come to the dashboard itself in a bit. Okay, I'll get it ready for us. This is from yesterday's virtual class. Right. So first, the space you get here, right? Unfortunately, I haven't been very neat with my work. Okay. Yesterday, of course, we wrote these things together. So since they are already there, I'm sure you guys will excuse me, and we'll get this done. Now, since you are writing this in your notepad or on a foolscap paper or something, right? You can just get this done. Later on, when you write this in the hard copy of the material, right? I want you guys to divide the space you get vertically into 2 sides. We'll start on the left-hand side, then then go to the right-hand side. You guys get the idea, so that we can make the best use of the space. Right. There are 5 things I want to talk about if we are to properly analyze unit 2. Okay. Right. This is the unit introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, can we start with A? Okay. Can we start with A? So I'll just use the highlighter here. We'll start with A, Putta, here. Okay. Right. Please write. Core 5 competencies of market economics. Let me repeat. Core, C-O-R-E, core 5, F-I-V-E 5, competencies of market economics. Market economics is the name of the unit. Core 5 competencies of market economics. Please write. It's a heading. Okay. Right. So under that, Putta, core 5. So obviously, we are going to talk about 5 things, 5 competencies, right? Okay, someone could call them the chapters also, right? So number one, please write. Demand analysis. Number 1, demand analysis. Just write what I'm saying, Putta. Other stuff, don't worry about it, right? We'll do that step by step. Number 1, demand analysis. Right. Number 2, supply analysis. Number 2, supply analysis. Number 3, elasticity of demand and supply. If you don't have space for demand, you can have capital D within brackets, as you can see here, capital D, and for supply, capital S within brackets. The word is elasticity. Elasticity. Yet another city. Scarcity. Right. Elasticity. Okay. The word is elasticity. Right. Okay. Done. Good. So elasticity of demand and supply. Number 4 out of the 5 competencies. Number 4. Listen and write, Putta. Market. So shortened form for market we are using is MKT. Okay. Market equilibrium. Okay. If you guys are clear, we are okay with the spelling, right? EQUI, equi. LIBRIUM, equilibrium. Okay. Very important concept in economics. Equilibrium analysis. Equilibrium analysis. Equilibrium analysis. Market equilibrium analysis. Number 5. Economic surplus. SURPLUS. Economic surplus. Economic surplus. Okay. Economic surplus. Right. So I'll quickly go through the 5 competencies or the 5 chapters, one could say, of Unit 2. Demand, oops, sorry. Right. Okay, right. Demand analysis, supply analysis, elasticity of demand and supply, market equilibrium analysis, economic surplus. Economic surplus. Okay, right. 5. Then, now it's basically the simple analogy or a simple way to remember this is with we learn about demand, then we learn about supply. There are 2 very opposite things. We will understand that today, right? Demand and supply. These 2 opposite things, okay? We basically, these 2 opposite things, we basically, right? We basically convince these 2 opposite parties to actually agree. Now, if you look at how they react to things, right? That is what we learn with elasticity, the responses. When certain things change, how do they respond? So we have elasticity of demand, elasticity of supply. These 2 parties who are generally very different to each other, right? But we convince them, okay? And we get them to marry. The marriage of demand and supply, the marriage of demand and supply is what we call number 4, market equilibrium. Equilibrium is the marriage where we bring demand, where we bring supply and tie them together. At one point, they agree with each other. That is equilibrium. Normally, when people get somehow married, right? When all that happens, after some time, basically what will happen, right? After some time, you guys are evidence of this, right? Okay, after some time, 2 becomes 3 or 4. Get it? That part is economic surplus. The benefit, the outcome of equilibrium, a market coming to equilibrium is it creates an economic surplus. Get it? So we have demand, supply, we bring them together in equilibrium. If you want to know their responses, we look at elasticity. Then we look at elasticity, get to know their responses for different things. And then we bring demand and supply together, marry them. That's the wedding, basically equilibrium. And then the outcome of that, we get economic surplus. That's the unit. Okay, right. Then with the B, second part, okay. B, levels of analysis. Some people call this the learning background, the background of the unit, all that is okay. I like to call it levels of analysis. Okay, please write B, levels of analysis. There are 4 levels at which we have to understand and learn unit 2. What are these 4 levels of analysis? Don't worry, all this is brought in, and the materials, my approach is very organized. Don't worry. Okay, we will learn everything, right? And you will understand everything. That's the most important part. Levels of analysis. Number 1, first and the most important thing is unit 2, market economics. Unit 2, market economics is a microeconomics unit. Microeconomics unit, right? So microeconomics. Number 1, microeconomics. Number 1, microeconomics. Okay, right. Number 2, Putta, you can say liberal or free. Liberal or free market economic system. Liberal or free market economic system. Market economic system. Okay. Number 3, competitive markets. Number 3, competitive markets. competitive markets. Number 3, competitive markets. Number 4, okay. Number 4, right. Number 4. So competitive markets. Number 4, price determination. A word we are going to use a lot. Price determination, or deciding price, right? Price determination of a given product. Price determination of a given product. That is the center of unit 2 is that. How is price decided? That's what we analyze in the core, in the center of the unit. But certain levels are there. First of all, microeconomics. Then in a liberal country that is having a free market economic system. Then in that free market economic system, we have to find a competitive market. In that competitive market, the final level is we are trying to understand how demand and supply are interacting with each other and how is the price determined or decided. 4 levels of analysis. Okay, right. Then, so A, 5 core competencies or core 5 competencies. B, 4 levels of analysis. Okay, this is what unit 2 is. We are understanding the unit. Then Buddha, please write C. Okay, what is C? Types of markets. C is types of markets. In market economics, in unit 2, we mainly talk about 2 types of markets, but we really focus on one type of these 2 markets, right? One of the types, right? So types of markets, number 1, please write 3 words we use. So you need to be familiar with all 3 words. Sometimes we say product markets. Sometimes we say goods market. Don't say good market. Okay. Then the other becomes bad market. Right. Product market, or we say product / goods / retail. Retail market. Right. First is that. And then before you write the second one, use a different color pen. I have used the red color marker, and just have a star or a flower where you said product, goods, or retail market, please. Right. Okay. If you can, Buddha, leave one more line, and then in the next line, repeat that same star or flower, and please make a note. Please make a note. Price determination within a product market. Price determination within a product market. Price determination within a product market. Now the key here is, out of the 2 types of markets in unit 2, our focus is on product markets. A product market. Okay. For a tangible good, intangible service, product market. Clear? Right. Then Buddha, complete the types of markets. So the second type of market is factor market. Factor market. So today we will learn about what is a product market, what is a factor market in a bit more detail. Okay. Right. So that's again important to know that we talk about 2 markets, but focus on product or goods, if not retail market, and understand how the price of a product is determined. Right. Then if you look at the next part of this, I said there are 5 things I want to share with you about the unit. Number 4, D, we go with the letters. D, linear model triangle. I'll repeat. Linear, L-I-N-E-A-R, linear. Another word for linear? Can someone give me another word for linear? In O levels, you might have learned. What is another word for linear? In O level mathematics, you might have learned. Another word for
line.
Sorry, yes.
Straight line.
Straight line, yes, very good. Can I know who this was? I'm sorry, but I don't. Yeah.
Lavindu sir.
Lavin, right, very good, yes. Straight line. So we say linear or straight line. If I make it very simple for you guys, if you can draw a curve with 2 points, minimum 2 points, right? Like in unit 1, I don't want to go to unit 1 too much, but in unit 1, when we learn PPF, production possibility frontiers, we learn a linear PPF. Remember, straight line. We can draw with 2 points, right? Where the slope or the gradient doesn't change. Don't worry. I'm not going to be too technical here. Just something I want you guys to know about that. In unit 2, all the main concepts, especially the core 5 competencies, whether it's demand, whether it's supply, elasticity, equilibrium, economic surplus. These things, to make them very easy to understand, make them very clear, to make these competencies or the areas we have to learn very clear, we use a mathematical model. Because we believe a diagram can explain things much clearly, and it's easy to look at a diagram and learn something rather than reading about 2-3 pages of an explanation. We believe an equation can communicate a lot of information, and we believe, right, a schedule, a table can give us a lot of information in an easy to absorb, understand method. So remember, Buddha, if there is any mathematical involvement, diagrams, curves, equations, schedules, if we are using, that is not to make our life difficult, it is actually to make our life easy. We believe mathematics is our friend who helps us illustrate things better. Right. With that attitude, D, please write, if you haven't written already, linear model triangle. Triangle. So how many things then? If it's a triangle, obviously, very good. 3 things. So what are these? We have something called schedules or tables, demand schedule, supply schedule, equilibrium schedule. Yes, schedules or tables. Then we have curves or functions, linear straight line curves or functions, a demand curve, a supply curve, right? Very basic things. Then third component of the linear model triangle is equations. Linear equations. Equations. Okay, equations. Right. So I just illustrated it yesterday with a triangle itself. So the 3 corners or 3 parts of the triangle are S for schedule, C for curves, and E for equations. This triangle, if you master this triangle, and they are connected with it, it's the same thing. What we give as a schedule, we can give as a curve. What we give as a curve, it's basically an equation as well. They are interconnected. So once you master this linear model triangle, a big part of unit 2 becomes very, you master a big part of unit 2. Okay, right. So that's part D. Part C, in our efforts to understand unit 2, the most important unit in our syllabus, is, please write E, main incentives or objectives. Incentives or objectives. So actually you can say the main parties or participants and their objectives or incentive. That is also correct to say, but this is good enough. Main incentives or objectives. As you guys know, by now, you would have figured this out. We talk about 2 main parties in market economics, because only if these 2 parties are there, a market is created. Who are the 2 parties that are essential for a market to be created? Who are the 2 parties must be there for there to be a market. Then only we can learn market economics.
Demand and supply.
Very good. Yes. Someone else? Another way to say it? Demand and supply is one way to say it. What is another way to say it? The simple day-to-day way we look at this is, in a market we find two parties. Who are they?
Consumers and producers.
Okay, very good. That's another way to go. There's one more set of terms we use because the two parties will act in this way more or less. Demand supply is correct. Consumer producers is very correct. We say what? Simple, in a very simple way, we say someone who buys, someone who sells. So we have buyers and sellers, right? So when it comes to a market, right, or in market economics, there are mainly two participants or there are two decision makers. Yes, you can call them DMs also, decision makers. Who are these DMs? Number one, consumers. Consumers represent, what is capital D within brackets? What is capital D? Sorry.
Demand.
Demand. Yes, very good. Capital D represents demand. Consumers represent demand. Producers represent supply. Right. So those are the two parties, but very simple. Then consumers, what is their objective? What is their objective? What is the objective of consumers? The objective of consumers is called the utility maximization. That is a proper way to say it. Right? What is it called? Utility maximization. We say, there's a word we use sometimes here. We say, so we believe, you don't have to do this, but just something you guys should know, right? We believe these two parties, consumers who represent demand, producers who represent supply, are either we can say logical or they are rational. They are what? Rational, logical people. So a rational consumer, a logical consumer will always try to maximize utility. Always try to maximize utility. Okay, always try to maximize utility. The basic idea is this. The way a consumer, the method or the manner in which a consumer would behave so that his or her utility is maximized is they would try to buy an average quality product, a good quality product, but at the lowest price possible. When consumers behave in such a way where they try to buy a product, at the lowest price possible, that's why the P is for price and the arrow is pointing down. Consumers always want price to go down. Then only their utility satisfaction will be maximized. Okay. On the other hand, what is the incentive? What is the objective of a rational or logical producer? A rational or logical producer, in this world of scarcity we live in, we believe in economics, is a producer who is efficient, who tries to produce a good or service at the lowest cost, average quality, but lowest cost, and a producer, which means who is making efficient use of the scarce resources and trying to earn much as possible profits, because profits will make the producer efficient. That is what we want when we live in a world of scarcity. So a rational producer is a profit maximizer. A rational producer is a profit maximizer. A profit maximizing producer will always try to sell the product, at the highest price. So consumers want the price to keep reducing or lowest price. Producers want the price to keep increasing. Remember what earlier I said, when equilibrium is the marriage between demand and supply, I mentioned something about twice there. I said demand and supply normally are very opposite. They it's like men and women. They think differently. They go in opposite directions. Right now, don't ask me who is whether demand is men or women and supply is, don't ask me that question. Don't put me in trouble. But end of the day, they are different. So equilibrium is where our market comes to an equilibrium. A certain balance is where we take demand as consumer, demand represented by consumers who always look for the lowest price to maximize utility. We have the producers who always look for the highest price to maximize profit. We try to bring them and get them to agree at a given price. That unique magical price is what we call the market price or the equilibrium price. We will learn. It's a whole chapter to learn. But basic idea is always useful and important to have. This is unit 2. Now let's finish this by looking at the did you guys write this part? E?
Yes.
Yeah, it's done.
Yes, sir.
Right. So if you don't, some of you guys, I mean, okay, try to respond much as possible. Otherwise, I'm in the dark here. Don't keep me in the dark. Show me the light by responding. Right. Okay. Now let's quickly look at the dashboard. Then we are done. So our dashboard basically starts here. Okay. At this point is where we start. So first thing, Buddha, we are going to talk about demand and analyze demand fully, comprehensively. Second, we are going to look at supply and analyze supply comprehensively. When we do that, we will have to learn how to properly define demand and supply, the concept. What are the factors that decide demand and supply, determinants? What is the governing laws of demand and supply? We have LOD, law of demand, and we have, okay, we have law of demand and we have law of supply, law of demand and law of supply, LOD and LOS. We'll learn. This is where we bring the, okay, this is where we bring the linear model, what did I write? D. Linear model triangle, LMT, linear model triangle is introduced here, right? Then, okay, we look at the change events. What is a change in quantity demanded? What is a change in demand? What is the change in quantity supplied? And what is the change in supply? Once we cover these key areas, our first panel, first part is done. Demand and supply analyze, 2 competencies done. Then we go to the third competency, elasticity. Elasticity we learn separately, ED, elasticity of demand, ES, elasticity of supply. Under ED, there are certain sub-concepts we have to learn. We'll learn them accordingly. Very interesting area, elasticity, right? Once we have covered all of this, with the knowledge we get by demand analysis, supply, get through demand, supply analysis and elasticity, we can then start bringing demand and supply. You can see the arrows, right? Demand, the green color arrow, demand, and blue color arrow, supply. We can bring them to one place. Okay, that's why here I went with green color for demand, blue color for supply. Just a small thing, right? Okay, we bring demand and supply and we learn how market price of a product is decided. Okay, right. So that part of the analysis is what we call market equilibrium analysis. We have to learn what is the concept of equilibrium and the conditions for equilibrium. How do we represent equilibrium? Again, the linear model triangle is relevant there. And then change events. How does equilibrium or market price of a good increase, decrease? What causes those changes? Once that is done, finally, we can learn about that outcome of a market coming into a proper equilibrium, market coming into an equilibrium. That is called economic surplus, which is a combination of 2 surpluses, consumer, producer, here also we use the linear model triangle. So the linear model triangle is applicable in 3 places. Here actually in elasticity also the linear model triangle is relevant. So that's why I said earlier, in all 5 competencies we use the linear model triangle. And that's why I said, Putta, once you master the linear model triangle, the schedules, the curves, the equations, half of unit 2 is done. Get it? It's so important there, right? So unit 2 is a microeconomics unit. Okay, let's get this done here itself. It's a microeconomics unit, and we learn unit 2. We assume we are looking at a country, or we identify a country that is following a market economic system. Market economic system. I'll remind the features quickly. Very simple thing, market economic system. And in that market economic system, Putta, we want to find a competitive market. What is a competitive market? We learn. And then in that competitive market, we learn everything about demand and bring that knowledge. We learn everything about supply and bring that knowledge. And we learn about how the price is determined. That means we learn about equilibrium. And once we have learned about equilibrium, we can easily learn about what? Surplus, economic surplus. That's the unit. I think now all of you guys have such a complete understanding of what unit 2 and what are the things we talk about in unit 2, more than some of the teachers. Okay, right. So that's how we do things properly. Right. So ladies and gentlemen, unit introduction. So 2 paragraphs I've chosen. The first paragraph is trying to bring you into unit 2 by telling you that this is where we learned something called economic systems in unit 1. Under economic systems, we learned an alternative economic system known as a market economic system, right? Or a liberal market economic system. There we learned that in a market economic system, the mechanism of, just listen. Just listen. If you haven't done unit 1, Putta, don't worry. Just listen, right? To solve our basic economic problem, every economy has to come up with this method or system called an economic system. One of those economic systems is market economic system. In a market economic system, the mechanism or the method used to solve our basic economic problems of what to produce, how to produce, and whom to produce is the price mechanism. We say decentralized price mechanism. Remember, price mechanism. If you don't remember, just listen. Something called the price mechanism. In unit 1, I just introduced price mechanism, gave a small definition, and said price performs 3 functions: information, incentive, rationing. That's it. But this is the unit. This is the unit where we learn price mechanism in detail, where we learn the ins and outs, the nitty-gritties, every small point about price mechanism we learn in unit 2. But price determination that we kept on saying, that is basically how price mechanism works, right? So we learn it there, equilibrium, right? That's what I've said in the first para. Second para, right? There's a reason I'm not reading it, because this is to be read by you. This introduction is for you, not for me. Get it? Not now. After the class, once you ideally get the study material to your hand, maybe by next week, leisurely read these things. For now, I'll take you through quickly. Second para, I'm saying the most important task, the most important thing we do in unit 2 is, Putta, right? Basically, we want to learn how price is decided. How price is decided, that's basically how a market comes to equilibrium, right? How price is determined is what we really try to learn in unit 2. Are we clear? Price determination. So, Putha, you can't get to equilibrium. No? We went through the dashboard. You can't learn equilibrium without learning demand, without learning supply, without learning elasticity. Get it? Then only you can learn equilibrium. Once you learn equilibrium, you start to understand what is the meaning for the concept of economic surplus. Okay? Right. So, demand, supply, equilibrium, demand, supply, elasticity, equilibrium, and then we go and talk about economic surplus. Right. Then my intelligent student, and the thing is this, there might be some words I've used here. When you read it the first time, or when you read it now, let's say it that way. When you read it now, what is now? We are just starting the unit. When you read these things now, it might not make sense. But I have to use those words when I do an introduction to the unit, because I have to cover the entire unit. Get it? But believe me, trust me on this. Okay, if you don't trust me, we can't do this. Trust me on this. Once we have completed unit 2, once we have covered all 5 competencies, you will have a perfect knowledge about what is said in this unit introduction and the background. In other words, page 4. Okay, right. Then I'm talking about a background for the unit. This is where we go through those 4 things, the levels of analysis part. It's covered here a bit, right? A key question to be asked in the very beginning of learning market economics is, what is microeconomics? You guys know this. What is microeconomics? Microeconomics is a study or a branch of economics that focuses on an individual economic unit, an individual market, meaning individual product, one market, one economic unit, a business, a investor, a consumer, right? Or a labor unit, a worker, one economic unit. Okay. And how we try to understand the economic behavior of that one economic unit, individual economic unit, is called microeconomics, right? Very simple, right? The key word is individual, one, right? So because the individual is the smaller unit compared with the big, broad economy, the word is used micro, the word micro is used. The word micro, the English meaning is something small, something minute. We say micro, small. So microeconomics is learning about the small individual elements or components of an economy. Individual elements or components of an economy. Right? Okay. But you need to give me a few minutes. I think someone is at the door. Right? Just give me a few minutes, please. Okay, why don't you guys write the definition until we get back. Yeah, write the part in blue color, please. Only the part in blue color. Done? Yeah. They have come to collect the garbage. So, even though it's 4th of February, even though it's Independence Day, it seems that life goes on. People do their day-to-day things. Apart from support class teachers. Right? Okay. So, that's that. Done?
Yes.
Right. Okay. I think can few more of you guys confirm if you're done? Then I can move on.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. So what you guys have written is with a very simple, a basic definition for what is microeconomics. In this definition, right, as we discussed earlier, a key thing is, right, we talk about, so micro means small, right? So in microeconomics, we focus on the behavior of individual markets and the smaller individual units that make up the broader economy. All of these individual units, when you put them together, that's how you get the broad economy. Okay, right. That broad economy is called the macroeconomy. The individual units, when we study, we call it microeconomics. So when we look at a particular business, when you look at a particular market, is the best example, one market. The demand, supply, equilibrium, economic surplus for one product, that's microeconomics. Okay, right. So if you look at the behavior of a business, a consumer, business meaning a producer, no? Consumer, investor, workers, one, that's called microeconomics. Then it says, I'll jump back to the study material. Okay. We didn't jump back. Now we will, right. Okay. Then it says, microeconomics is different from macroeconomics, which focuses on, so macro focuses on the problems in the broader economy, like inflation, unemployment, rate of economic growth. So unit 2 is microeconomics, not macroeconomics. A simple example I would offer here is, analogy is, the screen that you guys see me on, okay? If you take that frame that you guys see me, right? I am there. Hopefully you guys can see me. Then there are few things in front of me, few things behind me. If you focus on one of these things, either in front or behind me, for example, if you focus on this microphone that I'm using and analyze, study the different components of this microphone, you know, break it down and try to figure out what are the different components of the microphone and things like that. I hope I didn't break it, right? Break it down, you know, look at the microphone itself, then look at the tripod part of it, okay? And separately study, analyze, understand. Is the sound different when I remove that? Is there a difference?
No.
No. So, right. Maybe there's a purpose for this to be there. Who knows, right? So, but if we do that, if we analyze only this particular device, that is microeconomics, isn't it? But if you look at the full picture, including the microphone and everything in front and behind me, and look at the full frame, that is called what? Go on. If you only concentrate on the microphone, one of the things you see, that is micro. If you look at the full picture, that is called what? Macro. Macro. Yeah, basically the big picture. Then you don't look at the individual things. You look at the full picture and try to get an understanding of what is this entire picture telling me, right? And each thing you see in the picture has a contribution. It contributes to the story. It contributes to the message, right? But you're looking at the full picture. That's called macroeconomics. Get it? Right. Some of you guys have given the answer in the group chat as well, meeting chat as well. Excellent. Right. Then, now we know what microeconomics is. We know how it's different from macro. Brilliant. Then, and we know unit 2 is microeconomics analysis. Okay. Right. Who really introduced this way of thinking, this field or a branch of economics called micro, and made it into a proper scientific study, gave us the tools that we need to use? Basically, our friend, right? Our very renowned economist called, yes, very good, Adam Smith. So what did Adam say? I mean, you know, Adam Smith is usually considered as the intellectual forefather. My God, Adam Smith is the father of what economics? Microeconomics. In other words, microeconomics is whose child, who is baby? Adam Smith's child. Don't ask me who the mother is, right? Okay. Adam Smith is usually considered the intellectual forefather of microeconomics. In his classic book, The Wealth of Nations, published in 1776, a few years ago, Smith considered how individual, remember the word, the all-important word in learning microeconomics. What is that? I want to draw arrow. Right. Individual, right? Individual, product price, the price determination, set the study, product prices are set, study the determination of prices of land, labor, capital, the factor market side, and examined the strengths and weaknesses. Now, some people think Adam Smith never saw any problem with the market system. No, Adam Smith saw enough problems with the market mechanism or the price mechanism, but he also saw more good about the price mechanism. So that's why he promoted price mechanism as the best mechanism for resource allocation. Okay, right. Most importantly, he identified the remarkable efficiency properties, remarkable, almost magical efficiency that is there within a competitive or perfectly competitive market, when that perfectly competitive market, or we can simply say competitive market, comes to equilibrium, or when the price mechanism is working within a competitive market. Adam Smith argued and proved that there is a superior, remarkable efficiency. That's why he argues price mechanism, as long as the markets are competitive, as long as government is laissez-faire or does not interfere, price mechanism, market system can be much efficient, very highly efficient as a mechanism or method of resource allocation. Right. That's why we try to learn market economics or demand and supply or equilibrium and everything. We try to learn it within a competitive market, because that's where Adam Smith says we can really see how price mechanism works. And then he says, using his now famous invisible hand analogy, Smith argued that the self-interested actions of individuals guide market outcomes to yield, to create great economic benefit to the broader society. This great economic benefit the broader society gets, that is what we talk about. I'll write it here. That is what we talk about as economic surplus. That is what we talk about as economic surplus. So Adam Smith simply says, Pata, if you make sure each and every one of your markets is a competitive market, perfectly competitive market, right? And in that market, without any government interference or any government involvement. That's why we want to make sure it's a free market economic system. Then government is laissez-faire, not going to interfere. If the government doesn't interfere, right? And if your market is competitive or perfectly competitive, same thing, right? And if you allow the market to come to an equilibrium based on demand and supply, that equilibrium, when you buy and sell at that equilibrium price, that equilibrium quantity, every person who participates in that market, that is the buyer and the seller, both parties, which means the society, right, will have a unique benefit, will have a benefit because the market is competitive and the price is decided based on market demand, market supply. That unique benefit is called economic surplus. So the benefit the consumer gets is called consumer surplus. Benefit the producers get is called producer surplus. Okay, right. So again, let me repeat this. You need to read page 4 once you get the hard copy of the study material next week. And you might not understand everything that is said in page 4. That's perfectly okay, because we know, we have the confidence that once we have completed unit 2, you will have a complete understanding of everything that is said in this introductory part. Okay, right. Now we start learning key 1 Putta. Next we start learning key 1. And basically, okay, okay, basically, most of this we have covered now. We can very quickly do this. We might have to spend a bit of time on the word market and the 2 types of markets a bit, but I think most of it is done. Okay, right. Ladies and gentlemen, learning key 1, the introduction to the background, introduction to the unit, the background of the unit. We kept on saying, Buddha, when we learn market economics, we should learn market economics, right? We should look at a market. We should look at a market, okay? Competitive market, MKT market, in a, hold on, in a country which, sorry, there's a small latency issue, right? In a country which follows a country which follows a what? A country which follows what kind of an economic system? A free or liberal market economic system. So learn about demand and supply, learn about price determination, learn elasticity in that market, about demand and supply, of demand and supply, learn economic surplus, do all the 5 competencies, brilliant. But make sure the market you select, remember microeconomics, no? So we select an individual market, one product, and learn about it. So that market or the product you choose has to be it has to be in a country that is having a market economic system. Because Adam Smith says, right, if you really want to learn about price determination and the price mechanism and the market system, market mechanism, right, then you need to make sure that in that market there is no government intervention. In that market there has to be freedom of enterprise, freedom of choice, decentralized decision making. So that you can only have in a country that is following a liberal law, free market economic system. So that is the number 1 requirement. Make sure you are looking at a country that is following a liberal or free market economic system. What are the features? How do you know whether the country you're choosing to study market economics or the market you're choosing is in a country that is following a free market economic system? How do we know? Simple. Yeah, of course, we can ask them, right? Or the simple thing is, these features have to be there. These characteristics have to be there. What are they? There has to be private property ownership. Private property ownership. Private sector should be dominant and owning most of the land and capital resources. Private ownership of production resources, property resources. We know mainly we are talking about the land and the capital resources should be owned by the private sector. Done. Secondly, okay, done. Secondly, there has to be freedom of enterprise and freedom of choice, meaning decision making should be decentralized and the decision making should be based on the self-interest, right? That's where we have utility maximizing consumers, profit maximizing producers. We should be able to make our decisions based on our own self-interest, no interference, freedom of enterprise, freedom of choice. That's a market economy. High degree of competition. Remember, a competitive market is key to understand market economics. So high degree of competition. Where they use price mechanism. Price mechanism is what market economics is all about. Price determination. So they should be using the price mechanism. And finally, this is the key part. This is the word where we use the word free or liberal. What is that? Laissez-faire government or no government involvement in the market activity. Government can be there. They have some things to do, but not involved in the market activity. That demand, supply, that entire process is private sector. Get it? Freedom of choice, freedom of enterprise, right? So in that kind of a system, if a country is following this kind of a system, in that country, we should ideally choose a market. What kind of a market? Product or factor? Ideally a product market, and that market has to be a competitive market, right? When we say market, or you can't learn market economics without understanding what on earth a market is in the first place. The word market, Putta, has a very broad meaning today. There are many ways to define what a market is. But end of the day, a market is nothing more than an institution that is able to create a mechanism for the purpose of bringing together, or we can say creating a relationship between the two main parties in a market. Who are the two main parties in the market?
Buyers and sellers.
Very good. Yes. So we have the buyers and the sellers. Without these two parties, there is no market. Without a good or a service, something good service, factor of production, something of value has to be there, right? Otherwise, we can't have a market, right? Yes, producer suppliers is another way to go, right? So be very practical here. We need, or we are trying to come up with a really good word is mechanism. A really good word is what? Mechanism. And another thing I said, I hope you guys catch that. First thing I said was then, remember, a market is an institution. Okay, market is a key, very important component of any country, especially a market economic system. A country following a market economic system, a market is a key pillar, institution. Remember, households, enterprises, government, labor organizations, non-governmental organizations, these are all institutions. Along with them, what is also an important institution in any country, any economic system, especially a market economic system, is markets. Get it? So the market is an institution. The purpose of this institution, or what this institution does is, right, it creates a, this is the word I like and I want you to use, mechanism. In, if you don't want to say mechanism, you can say arrangement, platform, okay, a setup. All of these words are okay. Some kind of a system, fine. What is our word? Mechanism. So a market is an institutional mechanism that creates a link between buyers and sellers, creates a relationship between buyers and sellers. The purpose of that relationship is what? We form relationships, we form different relationships with different people with different purposes, for different purposes. We have a relationship with our friends. We have a relationship with our parents. We have a relationship with, other people based on a more emotional basis, right? So we have different relationships in life. We have you guys have a relationship with me as a teacher. Get what I'm saying? So we form many relationships and we use different methods or platforms to do that. That's okay. What is the purpose of this relationship that is created in a market? The purpose of the relationship created in a market is to exchange either good, a tangible good, an intangible service, or a factor-based service or a factor of production, land, labor, capital. So for the purpose of exchanging land, labor, capital, or a good or a service, if we use some kind of a mechanism, some kind of a platform, and if we have a relationship with buyers and sellers, that is a market. Now, in my explanation, Buddha, one very important thing that you guys would have noticed is, I never talked about, I never said it is a must that the buyer and the seller meet each other. I never said a market is where buyers and sellers meet each other, exchange their ideas, negotiate with each other face to face or physically, and then try to meet physically and negotiate or exchange their ideas and then exchange goods and services. No. It can be that, can be where the buyer and the seller actually meet each other, see each other, and then do that negotiation, or that share, the relationship is formed that way, and they exchange, buy and sell. But is it a must? Is it a must that buyer and the seller actually meet, physically meet, come to a specific place or location? Is it a must today? Talkman, yes or no?
It's not.
Okay, good. No, right? Why not? Because even in our definition, we are clear. No? Even in our definition, we are clear. Even in our definition, we don't say a market is where the buyer and the seller meet, a place. No, it can be a place, but we are not saying it is required for there to be a place or location. The only thing we are saying is, if you want to create a market, make sure that there is some kind of a, what is the key word here? Mechanism, some kind of a system. That mechanism, that system can be the traditional thing, an actual place, actual center, where people can come and where certain facilities are there, they can buy and sell, negotiate, buy and sell, meet each other, form that relationship, buy and sell goods and services. That is also a mechanism. But today the mechanism is more of a platform, more than a place, it's more of a space It's more than physical. It's more virtual. Yes, especially when we were at home, when we were compelled or forced to stay at home in the early part of 2020 and most of 2020, then up to 21 also. Remember, we were pushed to stay at home. But why was that? Because we were going through the world was going through a pandemic and we were under lockdown. The first lockdown was extremely strict, but that doesn't mean those 3 months when we were unable to go out, your parents were unable to go out and buy food stuff and things, that you guys went hungry. You only ate after 3 months. Yes, you got the food items, you got the other things you need. How did we manage to do that? If we can't go and buy them, if you can't go to a place and buy them, how did we ensure that we got these things and we somehow lived our life and survived? We were part of a market, no? How was that market created? What was the mechanism?
The internet.
Internet, yes. Now, for some reason, when people decide not to do what we are doing now physically, are we still doing what we are doing? Am I providing the service and are you receiving the service? And are your parents paying for this? So is there a market created here? Yes, we are using the online or virtual platform. So, when during the lockdown also, all the supermarkets came up with their websites. Initially, there were problems with websites, apps, yes, and we started using them, ordering things online. We never go to the place, we never go to the shop, we never go to the supermarket, but we get the things using electronic payment methods. We make payments. So we got the job done. That is a market, right? Can you guys name some of the globally or some of the internationally known platforms that are creating virtual markets? Amazon, yes, very good. Sorry. Okay, Amazon, yes. What else? Daraz, yes, very good. Yes, Afzal, yes, Daraz. eBay, yes. eBay is the kind of a pioneer, no? Yeah, then they're not very big now, but they started this concept. Alibaba, yes, yes. Shagithya, I think I got your name correct, right? Okay, yes, Alibaba, eBay, Amazon, right? Flipkart, yes, yes. AliExpress, Alibaba, I think, yes, like Amazon Prime, yes. So these kinds of basically very popular platforms are there. All of those are the different mechanisms today we can use to create a market. Okay, right. I think we have a really good understanding of what a market is and what is the requirement for a market to be created. Okay, right. So let's write this quickly then. The definition of a market. Right. Can you guys write the part in blue color and let me know once it's done? Do it quickly. Okay. So as we learned, Putta, as we discussed, very basic thing, right? When we define a market, we say an institutional mechanism. So a market is an institution, right? One of the main institutions in a market economic system, and its purpose is to, or what it does is it creates a mechanism. The purpose of that mechanism is to create a relationship or a link between whom and whom, buyers and sellers. Simply will say, what is the purpose? To create an exchange of either a good, a service, or a factor of production. All three things. Okay. Right. Something material. Right. All three things. Then it is okay. So let's quickly jump to the study material once this is done. Right. Then we say it is not essentially. So a market is not essentially a specific place or a location. It can be, but it is not a must. It has to be a place or a location. Get it? Rather, any mechanism which creates a link between demanders and suppliers. So it could be physical, it could be virtual. Right. Now, in a very simple way, if someone wants to say what a market is, we go with that proper definition, but in a very simple way, if someone wants to say what a market is, alternatively, we can say a market is a group of buyers and sellers of a particular good or service. Every good or service, factor of production, right, has people who demand for it, people who supply. There is a set of buyers, there is a set of sellers. So the market for that good, service, or factor of production is the group of buyers and sellers. Okay, right. But we have a proper definition now. Main elements, right? The main elements or dimensions of a market are, we need basically two parties, buyers as well as sellers. We need something of value, right? Item of value, a good, service, or a factor of production that is to be exchanged. We need some kind of a mechanism, right, that will create a link between the buyers and sellers, right? And finally, the purpose of this, all this comes to the market fulfills. A market would fulfill its purpose when there is a mutual agreement. Mutual agreement meaning both the buyer and the seller have to agree, both parties. Mutual agreement on a common price and a quantity. This is what we learn as price determination. This is what we learn as price determination. So those are the main components of a market, right? Now we have a good definition. Then in economics, we learn about two types of markets. What are these two types of markets? Basically, we have factor market and product market. I'll explain factor market and product market using two diagrams. A good definition, of course, I have given, but a very simple definition. There's a detailed definition also we can read. I have given in the reading exercise area, but for now, a very simple definition is good enough. Okay, right. Now, let's look at these flows and easily we can learn what a factor market, what a product market is. Let's start with factor market. So factor market is where any mechanism, any situation where households who are acting as factor owners, people who have land, labor, capital. They provide those land, labor, capital to the firms who are producers. So households are suppliers, the S is for that. Households are the suppliers, firms are the demanders. So when households supply land, labor, capital, the productive factors, firms will have a cost of production because they will have to pay the factor prices. Firms will pay rent, wages, interest. if you look at this flow very carefully, you will see there are two kinds of flows. First, there is a real flow. Real flow. The word real means, right? There are three things that we say if it's real. It could be good, it could be service, or it could be factor of production. So yes, there is a real flow because here we are offering factors of production. So the dotted line is the real flow. What is the monetary flow? The other one is number 2. We have a monetary flow. What is the monetary flow? For the factors of production firms buy to produce goods and services, they have to make a payment. That payment is some amount of money as rent, wages, interest. So we call it a monetary flow. The word monetary means money or financial. Money or financial. Got it? So there's a real flow and a monetary flow. So very important, in a factor market, households are the sellers or suppliers, firms are the demanders or the buyers or demanders. Okay, right. What is the purpose? Purpose is to decide the price of factors of production. The rent, wages, interest is decided in this market. And employment, that is the labor, the capital, the land, on how do we allocate them? What do we do? People, where do they work? That is now, if I'm deciding where to work, I will look at the wages I get from the education industry. I will look at the wages I get from the, we'll say, manufacturing industry. The wages I get from the service industry. Wages I get or how much income I can earn if I go into agricultural industry. So looking at this, I will decide where to employ myself. So employment of factors of production and the price is decided in the factor market. That is the purpose of this market. And this is very important. If you look at the demand, for factors of production, demand for land, demand for labor, demand for capital, LLC, these things are the demand for labor, land and capital are derived demand. What does this word mean? Derived. Derived means it comes through something else. Okay. Simple example. We'll say near your house or in your neighborhood, in your small town that you live in, right? There is a bakery. There is we'll say Mr. Pereira and his sons. They have a small bakery. Uncle Pereira's bakery. Okay. So every day or most of the days in the evening, right? You go to Uncle Pereira's bakery and you buy bread. You demand for bread. Not only you, most people in your neighborhood demand for bread from Uncle Pereira's bakery. So because you and your neighbors demand for bread, show that you are willing to buy bread from Uncle Pereira, what does Uncle Pereira do? Because there's a demand for bread. Now, why are you demanding for bread? Because that is what you want to have for dinner, or next day in the breakfast you want to have bread. So as a food item, you demand for bread for your own consumption. Okay. So because you guys demand for bread, what does Uncle Pereira have to do? To make the bread and supply the bread, Uncle Pereira will have to go and demand for the land, the labor, the capital required to make bread. It can be in the form of wheat flour to whatever the other ingredients to, water to, ovens and other equipments to, a building to have the bakery to, labor, people who know how to make bread to, right? On Uncle Pereira's entrepreneurship to, all that is there. But simply put, because you demand for bread, right, for your own consumption, Uncle Pereira has to go and demand for land, labor, and capital to make bread. So the demand for land, labor, capital made by Uncle Pereira was created through the demand you make for bread. If your demand for bread increases, okay, Uncle Pereira's demand for land, labor, capital required to make bread will also increase. If your demand for bread decreases, Uncle Pereira's demand for land, labor, capital to make bread will decrease. If you stop buying bread from Uncle Pereira, maybe, Silvaya has started, Uncle no, right? Silvaya has started a new bakery, where he makes more innovative bread, bread that looks like cake or something, right? Then you will go and buy from Silva here. When you buy from Aya Silva, right? You will have to, your demand for Uncle Pereira's bread will reduce and become zero. Then Uncle Pereira doesn't need to go and demand for land, labor, and capital. So, but the demand for land, labor, capital is always derived or created through the demand for the final goods and services. Get it? So we call it what demand? Derived demand, not direct demand. The demand you guys make for bread is a direct demand. The bakery owners, the demand they make for land, labor, capital is a derived demand. Is that clear? Derived demand and direct demand. So the direct demand for goods and services creates a demand for factors of production. That the demand for factors of production is called derived demand. Okay? Right. Are we okay?
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. Then, right? This is the challenge. What to do? Right? Then, product market. What happens in the product market? This should be easy now, no? Product market, the parties are the same, but slight difference is there. In the product market, households are consumers. Households are consumers, and now households are the demanders. They are the buyers. And who become the sellers or suppliers? Firms as producers. So firms supply goods and services. So it's a real flow, goods and services, right? And households demand for or buy goods and services. Households have to make a payment for such goods and services, which is basically the price of those goods and services. Price of those goods and services. That is the monetary flow. Are we clear? Very simple. Product market. What is the purpose of the product market? To decide the price of goods and services and to decide the distribution of goods and services. Who gets how much of the goods and services? The demand for goods and services is a direct demand, not a derived demand. It's a direct demand. Good. Got it? So I've given this idea with the definition. Factor market and product market. Then, Buddha, I've done a summary. Now, when you prepare your short notes, when you study, right? That's why we keep highlighting things. Remember, when you prepare your short notes, this table is really useful, I think. If you can take this table as a part of your short notes, it's basically job done. Okay? I've talked about the item. I've talked about the function. I've talked about the buyer, seller, nature of demand. Now, look at nature of demand. Product market, what is the nature of demand? Look at this point here. Nature of demand, right? Direct demand, purchase for own use. Factor market, nature of demand, derived demand, purchase to produce other goods. Purchase to produce other goods. Then examples are also provided. Go through the table. It's a really good summary for you. And it's a very easy way to remember this. Right. Now, next, we come to the final part. Remember, we said we are trying to learn the price determination, but in a competitive market. So what is a competitive market? What makes a market competitive? There are so many ways to look at this. Let's be very simple here, Buddha. That's a requirement. If a market is competitive, or if you want to describe a competitive market, you need to see that there is a very large number, or at least a large number of buyers and especially sellers. If a market is to be competitive, there has to be a large number of or many buyers and especially many sellers. There has to be many sellers. Many firms have to be there. There's only one firm that is not a competitive market. It's a monopoly. It's opposite of competition. So first thing is that there has to be a large number of buyers and especially sellers have to be there. And another requirement is for a market to be competitive, if you take one of those buyers, if you take one of those sellers, right? One buyer, one seller out of many buyers, many sellers cannot impact the market price, cannot influence the market price. What we say, they don't have any market power. What does that mean? The price in a competitive market of whatever the product in a competitive market, the price is decided. Okay, if a given product has a competitive market, perfectly competitive market, the price is decided based on the demand and supply of all the consumers and all the producers. That's called market demand and market supply. Not one consumer or one seller, all the consumers, all the sellers. That's called market demand, market supply. Market demand and market supply will decide the price. When the price is decided, right? If it's a competitive market, one buyer, one seller, just because they increase or they decrease the quantity they buy, the quantity they sell, market price, that price that was decided by all the buyers and all the sellers, that's not going to change. One single buyer, one single seller, however much they try, if the market price is not influenced, not impacted, market price does not change. The ability of one buyer, ability of one seller to influence the market price, impact the market price is insignificant, negligible, no power to change anything. One buyer, one seller. That means we are in a competitive market. How does that happen? Because there are a large number of buyers and large number of especially sellers. So if this is there, we are in a competitive market. That's how we identify a competitive market. There has to be a large number of buyers, especially a large number of sellers, and one seller, one buyer cannot change or influence the market price. Then we are in a what market? With a competitive market. Other features are there, but this is the key. Right. Let's write this. I know it's 1 o'clock. Okay. Let's get this done and then we can complete the introductory part. Okay. So that we have been productive. Okay. And we have started the unit properly. Right. Get this done. Write the blue color part only, please, quickly. Soon as you are done, let me know.
Done, sir.
Right. So I'll read it once very quickly. A competitive market is a market in which there are many buyers and many sellers, so that each has a negligible, a good word is insignificant. Yes, almost no, right? Nothing, insignificant impact on the market price. They can't change the market price. Then we are in a competitive market. Sometimes we say perfectly competitive market, right? Then, okay, then different levels of competition, this is printed, different levels of competition will be faced by buyers and sellers within different market situations. Several market structures or situations such as perfect competition, monopoly, monopolistic competition, and oligopoly can be identified. Essentially, depending on the level of competition within each market structure. All markets are not the same. All markets are not competitive. Some markets are perfectly competitive. Some markets are non-competitive, monopoly. Some markets have different levels of competition. So in learning unit 2, our focus is on competitive or perfectly competitive markets. What are these 4 market structures? How do they work? What are their characteristics? All that with our unit 4. You can see I've just indicated that here. We learned that in unit 4, not here. Here, we just need to understand that we study market economics. We study market economics in competitive markets, assuming we are in a competitive market. Competitive market means perfectly competitive market where the competition is the highest. We gave the definition earlier. The opposite of a perfectly competitive market is monopoly, where there is no competition at all. There is no competition at all, only one firm. If you take Sri Lanka, and if you take the three-wheeler transportation market, and if you take the railway transportation market, you will see, even though both are transportation, passenger transportation, there's a major difference in the competitiveness in those markets. Three-wheeler transportation market, there are about approximately 1.4 million three-wheel operators in Sri Lanka. Each person is a provider. Large number, very large number of suppliers are there. Similarly, consumers are there, right? Passengers are there, which means it's almost a perfectly competitive market. Three-wheeler transportation. Railway transportation, only the Sri Lanka Railway Department provides railway services, so it's a monopoly. You can see that difference if you look at that example. Perfect competition, monopoly. Where do we learn market economics? Perfectly competitive market. Perfectly competitive what? Product market. Perfectly competitive market within what kind of a economic system? Free or liberal market economic system. And finally, we only look at one product or one market, individual market. So it's what economics? Microeconomics. That's unit 2. Okay, I have recorded the session that we did today. I will try to make it available as soon as possible. We will give you a message with the link on our YouTube channel for this recorded version. You guys and any of your friends who were unable to participate, right? Maybe they were trying but unable to participate for this session. Before next week's class, try to make sure that you encourage them and you also can go through this recorded version. And I'll see you guys in person next Saturday at Sigma Institute. Okay.